What's up everyone, I'm Twisted. To celebrate this year's Pride Month, I decided to make a video going over all the league champions who are confirmed or implied to be queer. And I'm sure this won't be a controversial video at all. I try to do as much research as possible, but as always, if there's anything I miss or get wrong in this video, feel free to correct me down below. Let's first go over all the officially confirmed champions. You probably know most of these already. They are usually the ones featured on the artworks that Riot makes or commissions to celebrate their Pride event each year. First we have Nico, the first champion to ever been officially confirmed to be queer. In 2018, former Riot Matt Dunn confirmed she's a lesbian, which was hinted at in her voice lines.
Does Dragon Lady want to eat lunch with Nico sometime, maybe? Woo! Powerful! Like Jungle Cat Nidalee! I miss her.
These voice lines also hinted that she might have some feelings for Nidalee, but that wasn't explored at the time, with Matt even commenting that her feelings were unrequited. In 2023, Nidalee and Nico joined Legends of Runeterra together, and so the writers decided to take this opportunity to explore their relationship further. In a dev blog they said, Nico and Nidalee's relationship is beginning to blossom, and they still don't know exactly where it will lead. What's important is that we know they care about each other deeply, in a way Nidalee herself does not fully understand. And from Nidalee's point of view, Nico is perhaps the only person outside of her family that she would risk her life for. So yes, Nidalee is also into Nico, she is just a bit hesitant at the moment. So for now they're just very close friends. Next we have the hosts of the Sun and the Moon, Leona and Diana. Diana was created to be the opposite of Leona, and ever since her release, these two were speculated to have romantic feelings for each other. But for the longest time nothing was ever confirmed. We got some hints in voice lines from skins, for example Eclipse Leona and Coven Morgana.
Brave Sir Knight, torn between duty and love, blind to the truth of thine order. In another life, I'm so sorry, Diana.
And even a very small story with the two of them in the Battle Queens universe, but nothing for their canon version. In 2017, artist Michael Marino, who worked on concept art for both of them, confirmed that he and other writers that worked on Diana intended for her to be a lesbian, with Dev and GL saying the same thing in 2020. In the Pride event of 2021, they were finally confirmed to have feelings for each other with the release of the story Rise With Me. This story takes place before their ascension, and here we see their feelings at full display when Leona invites Diana to go to the festival of the Nightless Eve with her. In Pride artworks, they are frequently drawn with an element featuring the colors of the lesbian flag. And the official league account has even made a post with those colors, where both of them can be seen next to other champions confirmed to be lesbians. So I think it's safe to assume that both Diana and Leona are indeed lesbians. Now let's talk about Twisted Fate and Graves. According to Dev and GL, she always intended for them to be or at least act like a couple. However, she was met with backlash when bringing this up at Riot. Artist Michael Marino also confirmed this. So in the lore, they were only ever described as business partners or ex-partners. But in 2020, we did get a couple nice voice lines in Legends of Runeterra.
Hey, TF. How's the partner?
Pretty good. Quit smoking, if it ain't Little Miss Punch.
Fate! Where's your better half?
In 2022, they were officially confirmed to be queer in the Pride event of that year, which saw the release of the story The Boys and Bombolini. This story explicitly mentions Graves being gay, and it ends with them very obviously developing feelings for each other, though they're still far from being able to admit it. In the story, TF says, "No matter the size, shape, make or model, none can resist the charms of Tobias Felix." This and a Pride artwork commissioned by Riot do suggest that Twisted Fate is pansexual. Like Diana and Leona, Caitlyn and Vi were also speculated for the longest time to have feelings for each other, at least ever since Vi was released in League, with a voice line calling Caitlyn Cupcake,
Nice shot, Cupcake.
and an Easter egg passive for when they are on the same team. I believe this is where the ship name Piltover's Finest comes from. With Vi's release, Caitlyn's bio was also updated to include a small mention to her, saying she has recently partnered with a new recruit from Zone, the brash and reckless Vi. How such an unlikely pairing came to be, and has proven to be so effective, is the subject of numerous wild rumors and tavern speculation among their fellow wardens, and those they haul away to jail. Whether this was a subtle hint to their feelings for each other, or simply a nod to the mystery behind how they met, was never confirmed. Unlike the previous couples, I really couldn't find any comment from a dev saying that they were intended to be into each other from the start. So I think Vi's interactions in Legends of Runeterra from 2020 was really when Riot started to actually hint at this.
Next violation means a call to Sheriff Kicklin.
Sheriff Cupcake can't be mad at me. Vi? I should have brought flowers. Try cupcakes.
How's your uptight sheriff?
Kate's still got a sweet tooth for bad cops.
In 2021, Caitlyn got an update in League and was released in LOR. In both games, when she dies, she has something to tell Vi.
Tell Vi that Tell Vi.
The first season of Arcane was when we finally got to see a relationship blossoming between the two, and by the end of the show, they are definitely together, making this our first and only queer couple that is actually together in the lore. Like Leona and Diana, Caitlyn and Vi are most definitely lesbians, with confirmation coming from official comments as well as Pride artworks. Moving on to Keisante. There's not much to say here, as he was one of the few champions whose sexuality played a major role in his development, as we can learn in this post. In his story, we learned about his previous relationship with the character Tope, and how it didn't end so well, but since then, both men have grown into better versions of themselves. Keisante is officially confirmed to be a gay man. Nami became a champion in LOR in 2021, and alongside her came a couple of new Mirai characters. Her interactions with the characters Loto and Tama implied that the three of them were quite close, as they used a lot of terms of endearment when speaking to and about each other.
Beloved, get behind me.
I believe in Nami, and in you, Peleai. Good tides and good tidings, Peleai.
Beloved, no! My soul! My heart!
Their relationship would later be confirmed by writer and narrative editor Megan Bow, confirming that Nami is indeed polyamorous. I've seen multiple people say that she's bi, but I could not find a single source for that. Even the source on the wiki only points to the comment about her relationship. This Pride emote from LOR does have the colors of the bi flag, but that's about it. I don't think there's an official answer on whether Nami is bi or pan or something else. Rel was released in 2020 and her voiceover included some interesting interactions with both men and women.
Oh, so your name's Echo. That's cool. I'm cool. All right, Rel, be cool. It's just a tall, super strong armored lady. You're cute, Seraphine. Well, bye. More like the boss of having his shirt off. Oh, I think you heard that.
Since then, people have been calling her a bisexual disaster, but it wasn't until last year with the release of Ambessa's novel that we actually saw her getting close to someone. In the novel, she gets a crush on a girl her age named Tora. Unfortunately, their relationship doesn't go anywhere because LeBlanc kidnaps Rel. You know, typical teenager stuff. Some months after the novel came out, she was featured on that year's Pride event, which confirmed her to indeed be bisexual. Now we have Victor, and I'm going to be brief because I know this one is controversial. But yes, Kristen Link, one of the major writers behind Arcane, has spoken multiple times about seeing Victor as asexual. Anyways, I also need to mention Tarek since he has shown up multiple times in Pride art commissioned by Riot, including from this year. I could not find any official comment on his inclusion, but he's there, and hey, maybe that's all we really need. And finally we have Blitzcrank, which despite not appearing in any Pride art, also deserves to be here. When Blitzcrank became a champion, they were referred to using he/him pronouns, and this remained the case until his lore update in 2019, where they are now referred to using they/them pronouns, making Blitzcrank non-binary. However, this is not yet reflected on all of their skins, as some of the older ones still use he/him or even it when referring to them. And it's also not reflected on his small description, since this was never updated to reflect their current lore. With this being said, their most recent appearance as a playable champion in 2XKO confirms that Riot is still committed to using they/them. Now, I just want to give a small honorable mention to Varus. While Varus, the person, as in the mortal that became an Ascended and was later trapped in a bow, was never officially confirmed to be queer, the body, or should I say bodies, that he's currently using belonged to two men who loved each other. In 2017, we saw what I believe was the first queer couple in Runeterra, though please do correct me if I'm wrong, these being Valmar and Kai. The lovers fell into the pit where Varus was imprisoned, and he used their bodies to create his new form. The spirits of the lovers remain somewhere inside of what Varus became, and he can still hear their voices. So I just had to mention this despite Varus himself not being confirmed to be queer. And this is unfortunately the end of the confirmed category, but there's still plenty of champions that are implied or hinted to be queer, some more than others of course. A lot of these are intentionally left to interpretation, so keep that in mind. Again, these aren't fully confirmed. With this being said, let's start with some that are less hinted and more so heavily implied. First we have Ambessa. While she has been with many male lovers, including Mel's father and Mel's biological father, one of her voice lines in League implies that she might swing both ways.
I could use a massage. Tell me, are you good with your hands?
In-game, this interaction can be heard against champions that are internally labeled as Ambessa's type. As expected, this includes several male champions like Akshan, Aphilus, and Ezreal, but it also includes 2 female champions, Illaoi and Shyvana, implying that Ambessa is also into women. Next we have Aphelios and Sett, and this is a good time to talk about the multiverse of League. As far as we know, Rioters have no intention of exploring different sexualities for champions in different universes. This means that if a champion is confirmed or implied to be or identify a certain way in one universe, we can expect that to be consistent across all versions of that character. And this is important because some champions are only implied to be queer in lore that takes place outside of the canon universe. But as I said, this implication should carry over to their canon version as well, regardless if the relationships they have in one universe exist or not in another. Going back to Aphelios and Sett, I believe we saw these two together for the first time in the splash of Firecracker Sett in 2022, likely Riot's answer to how popular the ship had become ever since they were released back to back. Later that year we got Spirit Blossom Sett. In its voice lines, Sett uses mooncake as a term of endearment toward Aphelios, and there's even a mention of them going out together.
Hey, we still on for tonight, Mooncake? I gotta... hey, Loon.
In 2023, Sett was released in LOR with a small interaction with Aphelios and Loon.
You must fight for both of us.
I'll fight for you, Fel. Leave it to me.
So it's at least somewhat implied that they are both into each other, at least in some universes. The writer behind the voice lines of Spirit Blossom Sett also heavily implied that he is bi. Next up we have another similar case with Echo and Ezreal. In 2020, writer Michael Ichow expressed how frustrating it can be to tell queer stories in a large IP on a small thread on Twitter. This thread ended with him mentioning the story he wrote about Pulsefire Ezreal and Echo, obviously alluding at the possible mutual attraction between the two in that story. Next is Fiora. The descriptions and splash arts of Heartpiercer Fiora and Heartbreaker Vi seem to hint at some kind of relationship between the two. Fiora's canon story is about her family placing her in an arranged marriage with a man from the Crown Guard family, something she absolutely did not allow. This was later mentioned in Swain's interactions with her in League, which could be interpreted as her only being into women, but this is very weak evidence in my opinion. I also have to mention her Immortal Journey skin, whose description says that she was interested in Master Yi. So yeah, for now it's implied that Fiora is interested in both men and women. In 2022, Udyr received a major visual and gameplay update, which also brought new voice lines to both his classic look, but also his Spirit Guard skin.
Twice I have loved, twice I have left.
This voice line likely references Calkia, Sejuani's mother, whom he left when he traveled to Ionia, as well as Lee Sin, who he left when he returned to the Freljord.
Calkia helped me find myself. Lee helped me claim myself. Both good lessons.
This quote where he mentions Calkia and Lee Sin also suggests that they were indeed the two people he loved.
I have missed you, Lee. Let our spirits melt. Let us spar. My most worthy and most beloved opponent. Lee, my spirit, our mastery will be our victory.
Both Classic and Spirit Guard Udyr also interact with Lee Sin in-game, with his voice lines showing that they had a very close relationship. Udyr's skin also received a post about its development, which says that Udyr stayed in Ionia to be with his roommate Lee Sin, with roommate being obviously an euphemism for a queer relationship. I'm sure not many people were counting Sejuani to be on this list, but if you know Freljordan lore, this isn't too surprising. A lot of Freljordan tribes are matriarchal, being led by a War Mother. This War Mother then has many blood sworn, which are partners that are loyal to her. While Ashe preferred to have only one, we know for sure that Sejuani has many. How intimate of a relationship she has with any of them isn't much explored, however, hence why I don't feel confident putting her in the confirmed category. In 2018, designer Daniel Klein confirmed that Talia's DNA team intended for her to be trans early in development. However, as expected, they received a lot of pushback on this idea. And with Talia already not being seen as broadly appealing enough to Riot's higher-ups, making her also trans was definitely not something they were happy with, and so this idea was never explored further. In 2018, with Nico's release, we did get a small nod to it, in the form of an interaction she has with Talia in-game.
Nico, not the only one who changes.
Her depiction in the Star Guardian visual novel from 2022 also seems to reference this or even hint at her actually being trans, for example when she says she feels more like herself in her Star Guardian outfit. I think Talia being initially envisioned as a trans woman is very common knowledge, so I hope one day we'll see her alongside other champions in an official Pride artwork. There's still a couple champions worth mentioning, but these are neither confirmed nor as heavily implied as the other ones I just mentioned. Again, most of these are more so left to interpretation, so keep that in mind. First we have Hui, whose obsession with Jin could be interpreted as romantic, but nothing has been confirmed yet. As for Jin himself, in a Q&A, writer Odin Schaffer, when asked about his sexuality, said, "Gansexual, killsexual, Jin doesn't understand sex in the same way you do," which might imply that Jin sits somewhere in the ROA spectrum. Also a good time to mention Matt Dunn's tweets about the characters he worked on. He mentioned seeing Echo as bi, Kindred as non-binary, Aurelian Soul as omnisexual, Ivern as asexual, and Zaya and Rakan as poly-friendly. Since these are mostly headcanons that were never explored or hinted at in the lore, besides Echo, I'm not going to take them too seriously. But I know someone would mention this tweet if I didn't, so there you have it. In 2018, writer Michael McCarty, when asked about Kane's sexuality, answered, "I am reluctant to comment other than saying his appetites are fluid." Devon GL said she imagined Talon as being fairly asexual / aromantic. In LOR, Aurelia has some interactions with Lyanna, the Blossoming Blade, which could hint at them being more than friends. Jinx and Lux's relationship in the Star Guardian universe could be interpreted as being more than just platonic, especially considering some of Jinx's interactions in-game. Miss Fortune can be seen flirting with women in Legends of Runeterra, but whether or not she's just joking or if this reflects her actual preference, we don't know. Sunny Pandita, the artist behind Renata Glask, once described her as sapphic on his ArtStation post about her development, but he has since edited this post to remove this. Samira describes a former lover with they/them pronouns, implying she has been in love with a non-binary person. Like Miss Fortune, she can also be seen flirting with women in LOR. And finally we have Warwick, aka Vander. In the art book for Arcane, Jinx describes her photo with Silco and Vander as her family, but whether or not these two are in a romantic relationship is left to interpretation. And these were all the champions that are confirmed or hinted to be queer, at least that I could find. Again, if I missed anything, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind later. I'm Twisted and oh wait, I completely forgot one champion. Might as well mention them now. Alright, here it goes. Shaco is bisexual.